Before you buy a $500,000 house or more, watch this. You thought you'd check 1 or 2 home listings and go to bed, but now it's past midnight and you're still looking at Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. You're scrolling nonstop because you want to see an offer that makes sense. But now it looks like every house, even remotely livable, is starting at $500,000. I'm Steve, and today we're going to break down the real problem with spending $500,000 on a house. We've been made to believe that buying a home is the ultimate sign of success. Some people believe that renting is throwing away money and that buying property is the only safe investment left. But the math can't be more treacherous than what we're seeing now. The cost of entry into the middle class has become a financial nightmare for the average earner today. If you're about to drop $500,000 or more on a property, I want you to stop now. Don't look at the granite countertops or the stunning backyard. I want you to look at the life you're trading away to pay for it. Here's the thing. The idea that owning a home is a guaranteed wealth builder turns out to be a huge lie. But this was often true in the case of our parents. In the 80s and 90s, you could buy a home for 3 times your salary, wait for it to appreciate, and pay it off with minimal hustle. But the ratio of home prices to median income has detached from reality in these days we're living in. We're seeing people spend 6, 7, or even 10 times their annual income on a first home in cities across the U.S., Canada, the UK, and Australia. Let me give you some perspective. The median household income in the U.S. is roughly $84,000, while in the UK it's £37,000, and Canada is near $92,000 CAD nowadays. We're telling families to buy $500,000 homes when the math shows that home prices have surged 420% since the 90s, while wages have only grown by 190%. If you're buying a $500,000 home with a down payment of, let's say, $50,000, that means you're borrowing $450,000 from the bank as leverage, and in case the housing market dips just 10%, your $50,000 equity, which is the actual money you own, is wiped out. You end up owing the bank more than the house is worth. This happened in 2008, and while everyone likes to pretend it was a once-in-a-lifetime fluke, the underlying math today is actually more stretched than it was back then. We're forcing a generation to take on massive debt just to participate in a dream that was designed for a completely different economic era. Let's talk about the brochure's real problem. When you see a mortgage calculator show that your payment is $3,000 a month, your brain thinks, okay, I can swing that. But with interest rates currently sitting between 6.5 and 7.2%, a $450,000 loan actually costs you $3,100 in principal and interest alone. $3,000 is the absolute minimum you will ever pay. See, if the boiler dies in a rental, you call the landlord. That's normal. But if the boiler dies in your $500,000 house, you're looking at a $6,000 bill you have to pay out of pocket, on top of your mortgage. I want you to get this. Property taxes don't build equity. Homeowners insurance doesn't build equity. Maintenance doesn't build equity. These are just the added costs of living in the home. On a $500,000 property, you can easily expect to spend anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500 every month on things that have nothing to do with paying down your loan. To be precise, you're looking at $450 for property taxes, $300 for insurance, and at least $420 for the 1% annual maintenance rule. Add in $280 for private mortgage insurance if you put less than 20% down, and your $3,100 payment now balloons to roughly $4,550. So if you're not factoring in 40% of homeownership costs, you're still snapping your budget. But here's what gets even more troubling. When you owe $4,550 a month just to keep the lights on, you can't even move across the country for a dream job without worrying about whether you can sell your house fast enough to avoid paying 2 mortgages. If you have to sell in a hurry, you're likely losing 6% of the home's value to agent fees. We're talking roughly $30,000 gone, which might make you wonder, is this really the dream, or is it just a very expensive form of stability that actually makes you more vulnerable? By the way, if any of these relates to you, hit the like and subscribe button so we can continue to make more videos like this. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's calculate the real amount of money you need to have before you can even think of buying a home. To avoid private mortgage insurance and get a decent rate, you ideally want 20% down. On a $500,000 house, that's $100,000 locked in. If you took that same $100,000 and put it into a diversified index fund, earning 7% a year, you'd be practically in a better position over the long haul. In 10 years, you'd be sitting on somewhere between $200,000 and $236,000 thanks to compound interest. You're looking at $466,000 in 20 years. When you put all your liquid cash into a house, you're betting that the appreciation of that house will outperform the stock market. But if you look at history, that has never happened, because you must subtract interest, taxes, and maintenance, especially for residential real estates. Real estate appreciates at about 3 to 4% if you average for the past few decades, while the S&P 500 averages near 10% before inflation. We have to be honest about what $500,000 can actually buy you today. $500K will get you the house that's a bit too small, or a bit too far from work, or in a neighborhood that's up and coming, which usually means not great yet. The problem with buying a first home at this price point is that people often grow out of them in 5 to 7 years. But it takes 5 to 7 years just to break even on closing costs, commissions, and interest you pay at the beginning of a loan. If you buy a $500,000 house and sell it 5 years later for $550,000, you could be tempted to think you made $50,000 in profit. But once you subtract the 6% realtor commission, say $33,000, the $12,000 in closing costs, and the $150,000 you paid in interest over those 60 months, you would have been richer if you had just stayed in an apartment and kept your cash in a high-yield savings account earning 4.5%. What makes everyone follow the same old pattern is societal pressure. We feel like if we don't buy a house now, we'll be priced out forever. This fear of missing out is the most dangerous emotion in finance. You have to realize that many people who buy these expensive homes might not be truly financially stable. Current statistics show that 1 in 4 homeowners are house-burdened, meaning they spend over 30% of their income on housing, and 10% are severely burdened, spending over 50%. You don't have to participate in that. There is an incredible amount of power in saying, "I'm not ready for this," or "This does not make financial sense for me right now." So, now what? If you're feeling the pressure to buy a house but your bank account doesn't feel right, here's a practical roadmap to keep your sanity and your savings intact. First things first, you need to run a stress test. Instead of looking at what the bank says you can afford, take your total monthly take-home pay and subtract 30% for housing. Let's play out a scenario. If your household brings in $9,000 a month after taxes, your absolute limit is $2,700. If the mortgage plus taxes and insurance cost more than 30%, you can't afford the home. Period. The bank might let you go up to 45 or 50%, but they don't care if you have a life. They care that the payment shows up. Stick to your 30% rule like your life depends on it, because it does. Second, you have to build a maintenance buffer before you can buy anything. Check your savings before buying. If you have $100,000 for a down payment, but that's all the money you have, this is not your time to buy. You need a house emergency fund of at least $15,000 to $20,000 that is separate from your down payment and your regular emergency fund. The moment you become a homeowner, things will start to change. And if you don't have a proper cushion, every minor repair might cause you to owe more debt. The third thing you need to do is to consider rent vesting. This idea is catching on fast, especially in places like the UK and Australia, and for a good reason. If you want to live in a city like Sydney, London, or Toronto, where a decent house is $1 million, don't buy it. Rent where you want to live, then use your deposit to buy, let's say, a $350,000 investment property in another growing city. You can find 3-bedroom rentals in high-growth zones, like Perth or the America Midwest, for $2,200 a month that generates enough cash flow to cover a portion of your own rent. This means you get the lifestyle you want without going into debt to buy a massive primary residence. Fourth, don't be hasty. I think we can all agree that markets move in cycles, always have. Right now, prices are high, and interest rates are high. That's a terrible combination for buyers. Patience doesn't feel productive, but it is powerful. Wait for the inventory to sales ratio to climb back over 6 months and regain power. While others stretch themselves just to get in, you can be piling up cash to improve your position. Being the only person with cash during a downturn is a real strategy to start building real wealth today. So to wrap it up, I want you to get this. Success isn't a 3,000 square foot house with a white picket fence if you're too stressed to sleep in it. Real success is waking up knowing that if your car breaks down or your boss gets cranky, you're completely fine. Success is being able to take a 3-month sabbatical because you feel burnt out without worrying about a foreclosure notice. Real wealth means having options. If you're anywhere between the age of 20 and 45, don't waste the best years of your life as a servant to a bank loan for a house the market decided was worth $500,000. If the math doesn't work, have the guts to walk away from a bad deal. If this perspective helped, push the subscribe button. This channel is all about solving money problems the way they actually show up in real life. Also, drop a comment below. Are you feeling pushed to buy right now, or are you choosing to wait it out? Be sure to watch the video showing on your screen right now, which we have hand-picked to supercharge your wealth-building journey. Remember this, change begins where there are consistent actions, and we'll see you in the next one.